Hello, everyone, and many thanks for joining today's stream. Hopefully, there will be no technical issues this time around with the connection. It is, of course, 5th of August, 3 p.m. Moscow time, and I have prepared a lot of news, dear friends. A lot of news on some major developments, and hopefully, you will find this episode informative and interesting, useful, and in that case. Please don't forget to click that like button, leave some commentary, share your opinion about any topic uh, you want in the comment section. This might actually help to reach more people out there on the internet that maybe want to hear from Russia and also from pro-Russian standpoint on some major topics. Of course, you can initiate also a conversation about anything you like. You can send your question or comment or support platforms. Links are in the description box. And of course, I will react on later, straight after news segment, maybe even in the middle, because a news segment is going to be quite big, I think, and interesting too. And so, what else? I guess that's it for intro. Just a reminder, dear friends, that lately I start publishing first news update, not just on my Patreon and Boosty pages, but also on YouTube and Rumble. First videos, first early morning updates go on the Patreon and Boosty. Then little later on YouTube and Rumble. A video on Rumble already has around 1,000 views. Um, Hopefully it will get some more attention. And if you're gonna stay on my channel after this live stream, please check out that video, put some, click that like button if you can, might help her. And that's it. I'm a little terrified by the way, because I know live stream gonna be big, because there are a lot of news. But yeah, what you're gonna do is not it. And let's start. Let's start with this report that Russian armed forces past night conducted yet another long-range precision strike on the military and logistical infrastructure of the Kiev regime, energy infrastructure throughout the Kiev-controlled territory or regime-controlled territory, including inside the Kiev itself. And Defense Ministry shared with the public information. We did not have this information early in the morning when I was recording first update, but now we have additional details. What exactly was struck, for example, when it comes to Kiev? And let me give you these details. So, Russian army launched a massive strike overnight on military cargo and the drone component storage centers in the Kiev. Ministry of Defense reported. Among their targets that were hit, MLP Chaika and their epicenter, sorting and delivery of their components for drone production. That's what these companies were engaged in. Their innovative terminal and the logistics center Nova Pochta, where dual-use goods are stored, including those for the creation of robotic systems and electronic warfare systems. And when it comes to Nova Pochta, by the way, it's not just what the Defense Ministry stated right now, but I personally have seen so many videos when Nova Pochta trucks are carrying not just the drones or the components for the drones and all sorts of weaponry, but armored personnel carriers. So if anybody from pro-Ukrainian side will say that Nova Pochta is a civilian enterprise, no, man, it's a lie. You can check out on internet. I'm quite sure you'll be able to see a lot of videos, by the way, that will confirm what I just said, that Nova Pochta is anything but civilian enterprise. A lot of evidences of military involvement in the military activity of this company. And right now I can see, dear friends, some super chats on Rumble. So let me do screenshots. Anna is at work today, so she can't help me with the Rumble super chats, so I do it myself. And so let's continue now with some more news updates. Another enterprise that was struck during the overnight by Russian forces is a trans logistics which assembles drones and stores material and technical resources for the Kiev regime's forces. Another one, logistics center terminal Brovary, Ruben, Ukraine, and Brovary in the Kiev region, used for their distribution of components for the drones. In addition, south of Odessa, Russian fighters, targeted three dry cargo vessels carrying weapons and military equipment, according to Defense Ministry. And this is in regards to overnight attack. There were more Russian long-range strikes throughout the day, and I give you updates on all of it right now on your screen. You can see building warehouse or logistical center of Nova Pochta, for example. Rosetka enterprise in Brovary area, and well, giving their images, nothing basically is left from this logistical center. Kiev regime and its militaries definitely have suffered significant setback in terms of weapons deliveries, munition deliveries, and logistics. Also, another enterprise that was taken out. The Defense Ministry did not mention this, but there are videos and photos that, well, warehouse of Liquid Moly Ukraine, a German manufacturer of motor oils, lubricants, and automotive chemicals, were destroyed in the Kiev region by Russian strikes. And well, I guess this company was participating in deliveries of certain goods to Kiev regime's armed forces, and that's the result. It has become a legit target, and in a second, when they transfer anything to Kiev regime's terrorist formations, right? 100%. This is right now on your screen, approximate map of that is coming from Kiev control territory. So let's take it with a pinch of salt, but nevertheless, that's the approximate map of trajectory of the Russian missiles during the nighttime attack. Main direction, according to this map, was Kiev, but yet again, Russian militaries were active on other directions. Also, initially, information from Kiev control territory was that Russian armed forces used their 20 ballistic missiles and up to 10 hypersonic Zircon missiles, but Defense Ministry later on, or not the Defense Ministry, but other sources later on clarified this information. Also, Kiev regime interestingly published this data, acknowledging that they failed to intercept even a single missile, whatever it was, by the way. And according to Kiev regime's air forces, for example, Kiev regime's air defense systems failed to intercept any out of 28 missiles launched by Russian armed forces. According to reports from the Kiev regime's air force published on the Telegram channel, 24 Iskander M S-400 ballistic missiles and 4 Zircon or Onyx missiles were used against the Kiev regime's military and logistical infrastructure, and all of them reached their targets. No missile was intercepted. Same time, out of 115 attack drones also launched, according to Kiev regime, by Russian forces during the nighttime, Kiev regime's air defenses managed to intercept only 98. So quite an acknowledgement on behalf of Kiev regime that they failed to intercept even a single Russian missile overnight. Maybe would not be surprised at all, dear friends, if air defense was passive, did not even try to intercept missiles in order to create yet another wave of hysteria, right? And somewhat influence Western countries that, well, they don't have no more interceptor missiles, give us some more money, more weapons, more this and more that. Could be case, isn't it? Could be a case, or maybe they actually run out of air interceptor missiles. Who knows? Might be case, of course. And if I may, dear friends, I will show you now a couple of videos from that night time attack that Russian militaries conducted. For example, this video. Or another one, aftermath of Russian missile strike on one of the directions in the Kiev area. And in this video, you can hear some secondary explosions. It's crazy. Most of the explosions, secondary detonations. I think it was in that particular warehouse. Bullets of machine guns, rifles, maybe smaller caliber cannons were stored because there are no massive secondary explosions, but you can clearly hear these small pops, right? Is if a quite significant number of bullets are going off simultaneously. So clearly it was a successful strike on behalf of Russian armed forces to eliminate military and logistical infrastructure of the Kiev regime and Kiev regime's forces. What is also interesting, dear friends, in regards to this particular topic of Russian missile strikes, well, number of Western propaganda outlets, including Reuters, are coming up now with another hysteria, another narrative that North Korean missile units have been deployed in Russia to participate in long-range strikes on Kiev regime and its military capabilities. Let me give you some details on that. So Reuters citing statements from the Ukrainian sources, so you can take with a mountain of salt straight away this information, but nevertheless, I guess this is the topic that will be discussed out there in anti-Russian segment of internet, and I think we have to bring some clarity into matter. So Reuters citing statements from Ukrainian sources reports that North Korea has allegedly begun transferring missile units to Western Russia. Missile units are being transferred to Western Russia with the aim of delivering up to 120 ballistic missiles and 6 launchers for use against Ukraine. According to publication, Ukrainian air defense system is of the most vulnerable aspect of their country, and any increase in number of ballistic missiles will create an even greater problem. And let's be clear now that Russia and North Korea are strategical partners. We have a military alliance, actually, mutual protection pact sort of agreement between each other, and of course North Korea is in a position to offer the assistance to Russian Federation, and Moscow can accept this offer or might decline. Depends on objective needs, right? And in this particular case, if these reports are correct and North Korea is transferring or plans to transfer dozens of, let's say, ballistic missiles, maybe hundreds, because 120 missiles is not really that much, right? I guess Russian military industrial complex produces a couple of hundreds of these missiles every single month. But if this information is correct, then I think this operation will be connected with the testing of the North Korean weapons in a real war environment. And recently, dear friends, I reported about certain speculations on the internet that with the assistance of Russian engineers, North Korean military industrial complex did manage to significantly improve precision of its ballistic missiles. And maybe there will be some testings of those missiles, right? And you might ask, why would Russia assist North Korea to develop its missile forces. Well, point is, dear friends, that the US is weaponizing South Korea, weaponizing Japan against Russian Federation, especially Japan, obviously, and increased military capabilities of North Korea, of course, can be seen and will be seen by many as one way, one of the ways of deterrence in regards to either Seoul or the Tokyo. So it makes sense if Russia will assist North Korea to develop its long-range capabilities, right? And therefore, would not be surprised if those missiles are coming to Russia to be launched against legit targets on Q-controlled territory. But no one should get mistaken that Russia needs North Korean missiles because Russian forces are running out of those missiles or something like that. West might try to push this narrative, and we have heard this narrative for 4.5 years now, isn't it? That Russia is running out of missiles, Russia is running out of missiles. Somehow, it's a fifth year of the conflict, and if anything, Russia is actually increasing launches, significantly increasing launches of these ballistic missiles and all their other type of missiles. By the way, in past 4 to 5 weeks, in past, let's say, 2 months, increase in Russian missile launches definitely become extremely visible, or should become extremely visible for everybody, right? But nevertheless, this is a topic that is being discussed in the Western propaganda field, and I think topic it was necessary to address this topic. And also footage was published on the internet allegedly depicting this group launch of Russian ballistic missiles. It's a quite an epic video, by the way, and I just, I want to show this video to you. Interesting one. Well, interesting one, but unfortunately, looks like I forgot to copy the video on this notebook, but I will write now. I will write. I will. I will write now, and I will show you this video. That's it. Impressive. Impressive. But again, according to some sources, all 3,000 of missiles were launched by Russian militaries past night, and none of them were intercepted, as Kyiv regime itself is acknowledges that. Okay, let's continue with some other news, dear friends. And it was not just, obviously, there was not just strikes on legit targets inside the Kyiv, but Russian militaries were very active throughout the Kyiv-controlled territory, including in the Black Sea, while further enhancing this maritime blockade that Moscow imposed on the Western-backed Nazi and the terrorist regime in Ukraine as a response for terrorist activity of Kyiv regime and its NATO backers against Russian civilian commercial navigation in Azov Sea and the Black Sea. And we have reports that, Defense Ministry just published a few hours ago video confirmation of strikes on at least 5 vessels. Russian Ministry of Defense has released footage of strikes on 5 cargo ships. The vessels were hit in the port of Nikolaev and in the Black Sea off the coast of Odessa region. Ships were reportedly used there to transport military supplies to Ukrainian armed forces. The Russian Ministry of Defense stated that this has significantly reduced the enemy's ability to transport weapons, military equipment, and other military supplies. And as I said, maritime blockade is intensifying. Yesterday we had reports that Russian armed forces conducted strikes on 7 other vessels, also in the Nikolaev region and the Odessa region, that were attempting to deliver certain goods to Kyiv regime to enhance its military capabilities. And also we have this report now, dear friends, that there are more strikes right? More strikes on these vessels that are still trying to enter Kiev regime's ports, right? Still trying to enter Kiev regime ports. And you might ask a question, why is that? Why it's not that clear for everybody already that this is suicidal to attempt and enter Kiev regime's ports? And the point is, dear friends, that at any given point, this maritime blockade was imposed by Russian forces just recently, isn't it? Just recently. And therefore, at the moment when this blockade was imposed, dozens and dozens and dozens of vessels were at the sea that were moving towards Kiev controlled territory, towards Ukraine. And those vessels now probably don't know what to do. The crew members don't know. Companies that are in ownership of these vessels, they don't know what to do. Some might turn away and move to some European ports, let's say, and attempt to deliver whatever military assets they have on board through European territory, through Romania and Poland. But some vessels might attempt to enter ports anyways, right? And that's why every day we are receiving reports that 5, 7, or 10 vessels were struck by Russian forces during their attempt to deliver certain military goods to the regime. And well, today is no exception. As I already said, the Defense Ministry published video strikes on at least 5 vessels this morning, and later on we had this update that another vessel was struck and is on fire off coast of Odessa. You can see fire. It's difficult to see vessel, it's quite far away, but yeah, that's what is happening. And I guess for another week also, if of course this blockade stays in place, another week also there might be additional attempts to enter the Kiev regime's controlled territory through Black Sea. But after that, probably there will be no more vessels at the sea that will have a direction towards Ukraine. And at that point, we will see a rapid drop in these attempts, right, to enter Ukraine's waters. Meanwhile, there was also additional videos published of Russian drone strikes inside the Nikolaev port. Number of vessels obviously were docked, by the way, in these ports in Nikolaev and the region, in Odessa ports and the Odessa region ports, and there are numerous ports, by the way, in Odessa region. And Russian militaries are now eliminating those vessels that are docked basically in these ports that were engaged in deliveries of certain military goods. So therefore, almost every day, every other day, we are receiving not just statements, but also video confirmations of those missiles being struck that are docked in this portal area. Maritime blockade is in place and intensifies. Also, we have a report that Russian forces struck a military cargo terminal and the drone warehouse, the drone storage warehouse in the Chernomorsk portal city in Odessa region, of course. And well, due to this maritime blockade, Kiev regime is becoming a bit hysterical, and not just Kiev regime, but it's NATO backers too. We have a report that losses in Ukraine's agricultural sector due to downtime of their major ports of Odessa could reach up to $3 billion this year, according to Taras Vysotsky, the Minister of Agrarian Policy and the Food of Ukraine. According to him, the situation with the port blockade is in some aspects more difficult than it was in early 2022. Since July 22nd, the ports of Odessa, Chernomorsk, and Yuzhny have not receiving or dispatching a single foreign cargo ship, according to Kiev regime's minister. Now, he might exaggerating the situation to bring some more attention from the West. Clearly, there is attempts, right, by number of vessels to enter Kiev regime's controlled territory, controlled ports, and there are attempts to leave those ports. Some vessels might actually succeed in that and escape blockade, but majority will not be able to do so. But in any case, Kiev regime will definitely have tremendous issues, not just in terms of logistics for its militaries, but also in terms of um, economics, financial income, because of course maritime routes were major routes for exports of about 70-80% of everything that Ukraine was exporting. And now they are stuck. They don't know what to do much. I don't think Romania and Poland, for example, or Slovakia or Hungary, neighbors of Poland, will be that happy to overwhelm their own logistical lines in order to facilitate all the goods that the regime would like to export from European uh, logistical hubs now, right? So even though technically speaking, yes, there is other ways how the regime can export anything through through European ports, but it's not going to be easy. It will create tremendous nightmare, tremendous logistical nightmare, anyways. And I think financial and economical losses on behalf of the regime going to be much bigger than 3 billion, for example, that other Minister of Agriculture stated in Kiev. Either way, this is what the regime itself brought on Ukraine, right? Because you know, dear friends, in the past 2 months, Ukrainian Nazis and the fascists and their Western backers were so happy. You know, they were bragging about targeting Russian commercial vessels in Azov Sea, dozens of them, right? Dozens and dozens of them. They were happy targeting Russian commercial navigation in the Black Sea. And at some point, obviously, Moscow had to do something about it. And I guess Russian leadership said, you know what, you want to shut down our navigation? Well, we will see what kind of navigation you will have now. And Russian militaries and security services received green light from Kremlin to go ahead and do exactly that, to impose maritime blockade. And well, they are quite successful, isn't it? They are quite successful in doing so. But yet again, these troubles were brought on Ukraine by Kiev regime and its NATO backers. 100%. Moscow is responding on terrorist activity of the Kiev regime. That's how it is. Also, dear friends, obviously, there are numerous lines of propaganda in the West in regards to topic of Ukraine, and lately there is another narrative that well, Kiev regime will face most difficult winter since the beginning of special military operation. CNBC is writing about it. Also, Politico is writing about it, that this winter, upcoming winter, gonna be extremely difficult for Kiev regime, and it is true, by the way. It's gonna be extremely difficult, obviously, right? After all, according to Politico, energy minister of Ukraine, Denis Shmyhal, stated that about 80% of energy generation in Kiev controlled territory was either completely destroyed or severely damaged. So winter definitely going to be extremely difficult for Kiev regime, especially if winter is going to be very, very cold, very, very severe, which might be the case. But question I would also ask is that are we sure that Kiev regime going to survive until winter, at least in the current form? Are we really that sure that this Western backed Nazi and the terrorist regime in Ukraine going to survive next several months in the current shape? I'm not sure about it. I'm not sure about it. You know, some major changes might actually happen, and soon. But yet again, you never know. You never know, isn't it? Dear friends, now let me take a little pause, a couple of seconds, minute or two, to highlight once again, especially for possible new members of community that maybe are watching my program first time or second time. And let me highlight that this independent media project of mine is completely subscriber funded. They're truly independent, that is, and exists only thanks to members of our community that are supporting my work and this project throughout these 4 years now that I'm engaged in this work full time. And let me first thank everybody who has supported and continues to support. And let me also highlight that if anyone wants to join supporters, they can do it through several means. One can donate to this project through PayPal platform. Link is under this video in the description box. Also, there is a Boosty platform that also offers this service to donate to the creators. I have pages, by the way, on Patreon and Boosty, where I have hundreds of videos, extra content. One can subscribe to my Patreon and Boosty pages and join our communities there. Monthly subscription on Patreon, for example, starts from $5, and it is somewhat similar on a Boosty. It always depends on exchange rate. And all the links are under this video in description box and in the pinned comment. And also during the live streams, that is right now, members of community, of course, can use a super chat feature on Rumble, where my channel is monetized, unlike YouTube. And I can already see, dear friends, several super chats, and I will react on those super chats straight after news segment. Let me just thank Viper for a premium subscription gift card. Same for a very generous donation and super chat, and also Scooby for super chats and donations. I will react to your super chats, dear friends, straight after news segment. And so, yes, there is several ways how you can support my work if you want to. And well, all the links are under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. And you know what? Let me drop in a YouTube chat. Link to my Rumble channel. I'm streaming simultaneously on both channels, by the way, YouTube and Rumble. And if you have account, subscriber, if you can. And okay, once again, many thanks to everybody who have supported and continues to support my work. Thank you. And let's continue with some other news now. And we have this positive news, dear friends, positive news for Russia and the Russian people, and also all the supporters of Russia throughout the world, that 2 more settlements have been liberated by North and East group of forces of the Russian army. Let me give you details. So over the past 24 hours, Russian military units have established control over the village of Rizhevka in the Sumy region, and also liberated Zarnitsa settlement in the Zaporozhye region. The Defense Ministry of the Russian Federation confirmed this information. Also, let me remind you, dear friends, that yesterday I reported about Bakshevka settlement being liberated in the Kharkov region, and also we have extremely interesting news that Russian forces entered Orekhov. And we have basically confirmation of this information from Kiev-controlled territory, because the Kiev regime published videos when Kiev regime forces were attempting to target Russian militaries, and their area was geolocated, and Russian militaries were in a southeastern part of Orekhov city itself, inside the city. So clearly Russian militaries are establishing strong presence, beginning to establish strong presence in Orekhov, and we can argue that battle for Orekhov has begun. Now let me show you on the map all these settlements that I just mentioned. This is Orekhov, of course, and this is the area, southeastern part of the city, where Russian troops were spotted, detected on the video camera, right? And well, it is anybody's guess how far Russian troops infiltrated and how strong of a presence established in this southern part of the Orekhov. But battle for this major stronghold of Kiev regime in the central part of Zaporozhye sector is already begun. We can say also Russian troops established control over this Zarnitsa settlement, as TASS news agency reported. Well, relatively small village, by the way, you can see on your screen, like, I don't know, one main street, maybe several dozen of buildings, and that's about it. A lot of fields, obviously, around. But right now, this is very important because Russian troops are clearly already created a pincer around Orekhov and all their other settlements in the central part of Zaporozhye region. And I think it is very much possible that Russian troops will try to link these two pincers from their west and their east in Zaporozhye region and encircle everything in between, everything that will end up in the south, in this pocket here, basically. And this will might happen before end of August or September. Initiative clearly is in Russian hands. Also, dear friends, I mentioned Sumy region where another settlement was liberated, and this is the Rizhovka settlement. Also, a relatively small settlement, maybe like, I don't know, couple of thousand residents in it. It has like small industrial area also, or something like that. Settlement is located right on the border with the Russian Federation. So still progress. Russian armed forces continue to create this buffer zone. Also, dear friends, earlier I reported about major progress of the Russian armed forces in Kharkov direction, in the northern part of Kharkov, where Bely settlement town was liberated by Russian forces. Kiev regime's defense lines literally collapsed in hours in Bely Kiev regime attempt to send reinforcements to Bely garnison that they have there, but Russian militaries tracked the movement of these reinforcements and eliminated with the long-range strikes, with the drone strikes. Those units did not even manage to reach Bely and were wiped out basically on their way. Also, this is the settlement of Bakshevka that were liberated in past 48 hours also, and clearly we have a pincer in the northern part of Kharkov region too. And I'm quite sure Russian military is gonna close these pincers possibly before end of August, right? And Kiev regime's forces that will be trapped in this, I mean, dozen or 2 dozen of settlements, by the way, in this most northeastern corner will have two options only: lay down arms and surrender, or run away right now until these pincers have been closed. Otherwise, well, there is a third option that they don't gonna like, because their third option is end for them, right? End of everything for them. We will see what decisions they will make, right? But Russian armed forces clearly advancing quite rapidly, accelerating advance basically quite rapidly all along their front line. Only exception is, of course, Kherson direction, and the reason is obvious. There is the Dnieper River that divides positions of two sides, and as of now, neither side is attempting to cross Dnieper River in a mass, right? Sometime, obviously, in the future, Russian armed forces will cross the Dnieper River and liberate entirety of Kherson region, Kherson city itself included, and then Russian troops will move further and will liberate Nikolaev region, and then further and will liberate Odessa region. I have no doubts about it. This is going to happen, just matter of time. As I have said many times before, by the way, this war will only truly end when Russian troops will be on a border with their western Ukraine. Everything from now and that point will lead to that outcome, right? We might have some temporary ceasefires, some temporary solutions of whatever type, but this war will truly end only when Russian troops will be on the border with the western Ukraine, and all their other historical Russian land from Kharkov to Odessa and also Kiev and their surrounding areas will be fully liberated by Russian militaries. And when it comes to Russian militaries, dear friends, Russian President Putin today reshuffled basically the leadership of a group of forces in a zone of special military operation. Let me give you some update on changes that are known for now. So Vladimir Putin has reshuffled the leadership of groups in the special military operations zone. At the Ministry of Defense's suggestion, all rear service will be consolidated under the single authority. Colonel General Valery Solochuk will head the agency. Putin stated, and this is a good decision, I guess. All the logistics, all the rear services will be under the one command, so that will probably make it more sufficient, right? Make logistics more sufficient than when you have several commands, right, simultaneously. So I think this is definitely something positive. Under his command, center fighters to control, send group of fighters to control of Krasnoarmeysk and Dmitrov. This is of course Russian names of Pokrovsk and Mirnograd settlements that were liberated several months ago now, right? Russian troops may move quite away from these settlements by this moment, quite away westwards from these settlements by now. President continues that this Valery Solochuk, this general colonel, also led operations in the Kharkov sector and was responsible for the liberation of the Kursk region. The sent group will come under the control of Colonel General Andrei Ivanaev. Lieutenant General Pyotr Bolgarev will become acting commander of East Group of Forces. During their Ivanaev and Bolgarev's service in the Vostok Group, its fighters liberated Velika Novoselka in the DPR and Gulyai-Polye in the Zaporozhye region and expanded their security zone in the Dnipropetrovsk region. Colonel General Denis Lyamin will head their unmanned systems forces. In 2023, he commanded their 58th Guard Combined Arms Army, which repelled their failed counteroffensive of the Ukrainian armed forces. You remember, dear friends, 2023, when Kyiv regime launched this sectoral scale offensive. There was a lot of noise in the West about this counteroffensive, and the Kyiv regime was not even able to cross first line of defense, basically. Remember about in a settlement that was right there on the first line of defense, and Kyiv regime's forces stuck there, and Russian militaries eliminate God knows how many of this NATO weaponry, and the Kyiv regime, according to reports, lost 70,000 plus military personnel. Some say even 100 to 150,000 military personnel during that disastrous counteroffensive in 2023. And 58th Army did play key role, obviously, to repel this counteroffensive. So there is some changes in the Russian leadership. Hopefully, these changes will further enhance military capabilities of the Russian army, and we will see further and further progress on a battlefield. And we will get closer and closer to final goal, which is demilitarization and denazification of Ukraine. Meanwhile, dear friends, number of NATO countries, quite a lot of NATO countries, almost everyone, all of them, with the exception of maybe one or two, is actively engaged in this war against Russian people and the Russian Federation. And because of this involvement, direct active involvement of dozens of NATO countries in this war, despite no matter successes of Russian forces on the battlefield in the zone of special military operation, no matter the successes of Russian forces in terms of long-range strikes on the military and logistical infrastructure of the Kyiv regime, every day and every night Russia is still facing long-range attacks on its territory. And that's because vast majority of these drones and missiles that are launched against Russia is produced in the West. It's Western countries that are producing these weapons, and all they have to do then send those weapons on a Q control territory towards the assembly lines, final assembly lines, or the launch points, and push the button, right? Drones, missiles, intelligence data, satellite intelligence and the navigation, flight path, everything is coming from NATO countries, and therefore, yet again, despite all the successes of the Russian air forces on the line of contact and also with these long-range strikes on military and logistical infrastructure, we are unable to get rid of this threat of long-range attacks, and we would not be able to get rid of this threat unless and until we will restore the deterrent with the collective West, obviously. And therefore, because now, as of now, there is no deterrent between Russia and the collective West, and Western ruling elites feel like they can do literally anything with total impunity. Well, past night, 475 Western-made drones were intercepted by Russian air defense forces over their Belgorod, Bryansk, Voronezh, Kaluga, Kursk, Lipetsk, Oryol, Rostov, Ryazan, Saratov, Smolensk, Tula, Ulyanovsk regions, the Moscow region, the Republic of Crimea and Republic of Tatarstan, Krasnodar Krai, and over the waters of the Azov and the Black Seas. We can see vast geography, very vast geography of these long-range attacks on the Russian Federation that are orchestrated by NATO member states. And unfortunately, even though Russian air defenses are managing to intercept vast majority of incoming aerial targets, every now and then some drones are bypassing air defenses and are striking civilian residential areas or different enterprises, and past night was no exception. We have reports that this Western-controlled Nazi and terrorist regime targeted, with assistance of NATO, targeted yet another warehouse of Wildberries, a Russian e-commerce company in Alexin settlement, which is a Tula region, and they're giving the images that are coming from the area. For example, this particular image, clearly warehouse was destroyed as a result of this attack. Also, there are reports that, and by the way, according to reports, one person was injured during these attacks on Wildberries warehouse. Also, there are reports that Kiev regime, with the assistance of NATO, or let's say NATO member states, with under the cover of Kiev regime, targeted oil refineries in Ufa area once again, which is 1,500 kilometers away, by the way, from Kiev controlled territory. And whenever this kind of attacks happens, either in Omsk direction, or Chelyabinsk direction, or Novosibirsk direction, or Ekaterinburg direction, or Kazan for that matter, or Ufa, I'm quite sure these drones are launched not from Kiev, not from Ukraine, not from Kiev controlled territory, but from Kazakhstan. And look at the map, dear friends. I made this for you for visualization. This is the Kazakhstan here. Second biggest former by territory, former Soviet Republic. This is Ufa location, and that's where Kiev controlled territory is. And I don't know about you, but I refuse to believe that Turkey regime's drones did manage to bypass 1,500 kilometers without being detected and intercepted by Russian air defenses throughout the dozen of regions that they would have to cross, right? I think these drones are launched from Kazakhstani side. I'm not saying that Kazakhstani leadership itself is actively involved in these terrorist attacks on Russian Federation, but after so many attacks on these eastern regions of Russia, I think Kazakhstani leadership, Kazakhstani intelligence know perfectly well what's going on. They know that UK, US, and the Ukrainian proxies are using Kazakhstani territory for these attacks. They have assembly lines for these drones, launch points for these drones. I'm quite sure Astana, capital of Kazakhstan, well aware that drone parts, explosive materials are shipped into Kazakhstan through British embassy, through US embassy, potentially from Azerbaijani territory, that can be smuggled there through Caspian Sea, right? I'm quite sure Astana knows pretty much everything about this activity of Russian enemies from their territory, and they are doing nothing. And they are doing nothing to stop this, which is uh, very unfortunate, and raises the questions, should raise the questions in Moscow and Beijing, because if today Western ruling class is using Kazakhstan against Russia, tomorrow Western ruling elites will start using Kazakhstan against China, right? 100%, by the way. And therefore, I don't know if either Moscow or Beijing should be or would be okay with this situation. They should not. And definitely something needs to be done, man. If Kazakhstan is refusing to act accordingly, then some changes has to be made in terms of Russia Kazakhstan relationships, I think, right? But yet again, you shared your opinion, dear friends. What is your take about it? You might ask, why would Kazakhstan allow its territory to be used there, especially in case if they know what's going on, if Kazakhstan secret services know what's going on. And point is, dear friends, that Kazakhstan is extremely dependent on oil exports. Kazakhstan is an oil-rich country, and they're extremely dependent on oil exports. And you have heard many times from my programs about Ukrainian/NATO strikes on Caspian Pipeline Consortium, right? Infrastructure. And this Caspian Pipeline Consortium infrastructure links Kazakhstani oil fields, basically, with the Russian Novorossiysk port, with Russia's Novorossiysk area, where CPC has its own terminal, right? And well, London and Washington, by the way, while targeting CPC infrastructure in Novorossiysk, for example, and also tankers that were carrying Kazakhstani oil, of course, pressuring Astana to do nothing. To do nothing. That's what they do. And that's how, through this blackmail, they are forcing Astana to close their eyes on this terrorist activity that London, Washington, their embassies in Kazakhstan and their Ukrainian proxies are engaged. That's what is going on. And we should also keep in mind that Kazakhstan is quite big when it comes to grain exports and so on. And you think if London can shut down Kazakhstani oil exports, what they can do to grain exports from Kazakhstan? Same, correct? They can basically attempt to create a financial crisis inside the Kazakhstan, right? And the Astana frights of that, and obeys orders that they are receiving. Blackmail is usual stuff that Western ruling class uses. We all know that. And it is unfortunate that Kazakhstan leadership is that weaker and cannot withstand this pressure. But nevertheless, I mean, no excuse from Kazakhstan side can justify attacks on Russian territory, right, from Kazakhstan. So therefore, clearly Moscow and Beijing have to do something about it until it's not too late, really. Let me continue, dear friends, with some other news. But first, I will make screenshot of super chat from Wayward. And dear friends, I will react on super chats on Rumble, and there are questions or the comments through PayPal and the Boosty after the news segment, as I always do. And there are recommendations also from Christopher that I will also share, interesting recommendations alongside, of course, the super chats on Rumble. And so, okay, let's continue, correct? Let's continue with the news. I hope as of now you find the news program interesting and informative. TASS News Agency reports that, well, when it comes to terrorist activity of Kyiv regime and its NATO backers, well, they try to kill yet another Russian public figure, yet another Russian citizen with a terrorist attack. A few hours ago, news broke that Ural drone plant CEO was injured in a car explosion. So Vladimir Tkachuk, CEO of Ural drone plant, which produces the Upir drones, was injured in a vehicle explosion. He is in intensive care at this point in very serious conditions. Vladimir Tkachuk was injured in a car explosion. Okay, TASS News Agency confirms basically this information that there was another terrorist attack. Unfortunately, according to reports, one person was killed there, potentially driver of the vehicle that exploded, and CEO of this Ural drone plant was severely injured, and the medics are fighting for his life now. Yet another terrorist attack orchestrated by British Secret Services, US Secret Services, and the Ukrainian proxies. That's what they are, man. That's with whom we are dealing. Meanwhile, interesting report also that allegedly European and Russian ex-officials had secretive talks on war in Ukraine. Information is coming from Bloomberg. So let's take this report with a pinch of salt. Bloomberg, well known to be actively engaged in all sorts of deceptions, right? As all the other big names in the Western so-called media. But nevertheless, if report is true, then it is interesting. Bloomberg reports that an official meeting allegedly took place in Austria last month involving former high-ranking officials from the UK, France, Germany, and Russia. According to their agency, the main topic of discussion was reportedly potential negotiations between Russia and Ukraine to resolve the conflict. Bloomberg claims that their discussion included Tim Barrow, UK's national security advisor, Markus Ederer, former state secretary at the German Foreign Ministry, and Pierre Vimont, the French diplomat. However, the agency does not specify who represented the Russian side or how many people attended the meeting. Notably, according to agency, no representatives from Ukraine were present at this gathering. There is currently no official information of the regarding these negotiations. Most of the individuals mentioned by Bloomberg have either declined to comment on the report or stated that they know nothing about such discussions. So, of course, hard to tell, dear friends, if this report is correct or no. Impossible to know. But what we do know is that a few weeks ago, President of Azerbaijan, Ilham Aliyev, stated that there was talks between European representatives and Russian representatives in Azerbaijan, in Baku. And he said that he didn't know anything about this meeting. He asked, when news broke, he asked Secret Services, check. They confirmed that, yes, representatives of from Europe, from Germany, and God knows from where else, and also Russian former high-ranking officials were in Baku and having a meeting with each other. So therefore, I think there is a probability, maybe even high probability, that some sort of behind the closed door talks are going on between Moscow, London, Berlin, Paris, in regards to Ukrainian crisis, And well, you know, dear friends, I've said a few times before that, in my personal opinion, Moscow is leaning towards temporary solution. because Russian president, let's be real, Russian president has only like few options, right? At this point, one is to restore the deterrent with the collective West and then rapidly finalize special military operation, but clearly he is not going to do that, is not it? This is a fifth year of their special military operation. If Vladimir Putin was willing to escalate with the collective West or to teach them a lesson or something like that, then he would do this a long time ago. So he is not the person who will, in my opinion, who will ever greenlight Russian militaries and security services to restore deterrent with their collective West. And if that option is off the table, if Putin is not willing to restore deterrent, then what are the options he actually has? One is further prolongation, further continuation of the special military operation until final goals are reached, and in that case, this war will last for forever, because in order to demilitarize Kiev regime and denazify, first and foremost, you have to demilitarize NATO member states, and even though quite a few NATO member states actually being demilitarized already, according to their own acknowledgement, it will take forever, obviously, before we will manage to demilitarize the entire fleet in NATO that is providing your regime with the weapons and the money and munition and everything else, right? Intelligence and so on. So that's the one option. I don't think Putin will take that option either, to be engaged in this forever war. And then in that case, there is only one option left, which is to freeze the conflict, right? To freeze the conflict and to come up with some political solution. And I think there is a high enough probability that right now there is a behind the closed door negotiations between Washington, between European ruling class and Russian ruling class to come up with some common ground, right, when it comes to freezing of the conflict. But it's not going to be easy, obviously. It's not going to be easy because, as I reported in my previous updates, friends, Russian diplomats, high-ranking officials, one after another, are saying that right now Western elites are in no position to come up with some adequate proposals. I remind you that literally like day before yesterday, isn't it? Mikhail Galuzin, deputy of the Russian foreign minister, stated that Russia has not yet heard any constructive ideas from the West regarding Ukraine. And this was said like day before yesterday, right? And the meeting that took place allegedly in Austria happened towards the end of last month. So I guess that meeting didn't produce any progress in terms of reaching that middle ground when sides can agree on something, let's say, freezing of the conflict under the certain to agree on the freezing of the conflict under the certain условия, how you say условия, conditions, right? And therefore, I think Putin will have a hard time. Even in terms of finding that temporary solution, even in terms of freezing of the conflict, even though officially, by the way, no Russian official ever said that they are supporting the freezing of the conflict. Nobody ever says anything like that. Neither Putin, neither anybody else, right? This is just my speculation now, right? Because there is only three options. One is to restore deterrent with collective West. Putin not going to do that because that will require retaliatory strikes on NATO countries and actual escalation with the Western ruling class and the process of teaching
the lesson to the Western elites. Putin is not going to do that. Second option is a forever war until we will demilitarize NATO, if that is even possible. And third is a freezing of the conflict, because first tour is not something that Putin will take. And Putin is struggling now. Putin looks like will have a hard time, even in terms of finding this temporary solution and freezing of the conflict, because these Western elites are so emboldened with their impunity with which for so long now they are killing Russian citizens, that they might not be even able, under the current circumstances, to come up with their adequate proposals, right? Or to agree on whatever proposals Moscow will have. At this currently, as Galuzin himself noticed in his statement, Western elites are talking to Russia with the language of ultimatums. And yeah, that's quite something, because, well, elections are coming, by the way, right? Here in Russia, pressure is rising on Putin to basically just a sec, dear friends. What the hell is going on here? So pressure is rising on Putin in order to basically finalize this war, right? And first and foremost, to restore deterrent with the collective West. So he's being cornered, man. He's being cornered. Restrained policy, cornered Putin. And when it comes to level of insanity on behalf of Western ruling class and how emboldened they are, well, they are treating Russia as a testing ground. I mean, how far they're going to go, really, to demonstrate their actual attitude towards Russia. They are seeing Russia as a testing ground. Earlier, I have reported, dear friends, several times when NATO member states were testing weapons on Russian people while using Ukraine. And now we have this report that is coming from German Defense Minister Pistorius, who stated basically publicly that this latest generation of howitzers, RSH-155, allegedly is very popular in Ukraine. And that means it was tested against Russian people, right? It was transferred on a Q-controlled territory and then tested against Russian people. And you think with these individuals, Putin might find their coming around? No, not possible. And I think there is a probability, tiny probability, that maybe after, who knows, another attempt to negotiate with the Western ruling class, and then another, at some point, Putin will get tired with this nonsensical talks, with this nonsensical restraint policy, and maybe he will finally authorize militaries to teach the lesson Western elites to restore deterrent, because only then Moscow will actually manage to have a proper conversation, when Western elites will no longer going to be emboldened as they are right now. But we will see what is going to happen, by the way. But place where we are finding ourselves right now is definitely a tragic one and a sad one, when we being considered and treated by these NATO member states as a testing ground. It's insanity, isn't it? It's insanity, but yeah, what are you gonna do? Also, dear friends, I want to share with you this information that is related with the terrorist activity also of a Kiev regime and its NATO backers. According to several sources, Leipzig airport in Germany was temporarily closed after a drone carrying explosive device was discovered near the Ukrainian AN-124 cargo plane. Bomb disposal specialists and the bomb disposal robot were dispatched to the scenery, and the control disarming of the drone is being planned. After the airport was closed, allegedly another cargo plane in the air attempted to for a second landing. It was in the air. It starts circulating around, and in that process smashed to something, unknown object. Although successfully landed in Hanover, this collision happened on 400 meters altitude. Allegedly, police are not ruling out possibility of sabotage and are searching for drone operators. And friends, if this story is not made up by Western propaganda, right? If actually some explosive device and the drone was found next to Antonov plane, then I don't think you have to be Sherlock Holmes to understand what's going on, isn't it? Kiev regime brought this plane in an airport. Probably plane was delivering something or was scheduled to take on board something. Crew members dropped the drone right next to a plane, and then police was called in. And you see drone, plane is Ukrainian, right? And if next to a plane drone is found with explosives on it, who you gonna blame? Or who will propaganda blame? Let's say this way. Well, they're gonna blame Russia, isn't it? They're gonna blame Russia. By the way, this is a cheap shots. This is so cheap shots, isn't it? That Western ruling class is coming up, but it works, man. They are successfully brainwashing people all over the West. A lot of them, and majority of them actually. So these cheap shots are actually working, man, believe it or not, which is insane. But yet again, what you gonna do? You know, unbelievable. And meanwhile, Europe, Brussels will steal another 1.4 billion of Russian people's money. Proceeds from Russian frozen assets are going to be transferred to Kiev regime in a volume of 1.4 billion euros. Why am I not surprised, man? Why am I not surprised? I have a question, and no one going to give me an answer. I wonder what volume of frozen Russian assets actually are in place, and what was already stolen. Because as of now, officially Brussels only acknowledges that they are stealing profits of frozen Russian assets, but they are not touching the assets themselves. But I have some doubts that this is the case. I really do, man. Probably they steal a lot of frozen assets also, and are quiet about it. But yeah, another 1.4 billion compared to previous numbers that already been promised to Kiev regime, like 70 billion, 90 billion, 40 billion, and all that stuff. Of course, 1.4 billion euros does not sound a lot, but it is a lot actually, isn't it? It is a lot, especially when this is Russian money. This is not European money. And they are sending these billions and billions and billions to whom? To prolong war against Russian people, obviously, to purchase more weapons and so on, and also to keep happy these corrupt Ukrainian officials, right, that are sacrificing under the orders of their Western masters hundreds of thousands of citizens of Ukraine. Correct? And when it comes to corruption and Ukraine, dear friends, a few days ago I reported that Zelensky sacked Ukraine's ambassador in US, Stefanishina or something, right? And she's being charged now with corruption, unlawful enrichment, corruption, and so on. She was charged by NABU and SAP, anti-corruption, US-controlled anti-corruption institutions in Ukraine, FBI controlled her, to be more precise. And this is interesting. This is interesting because I guess Washington is not happy with Stefanishina because she was too much of London's asset, not even Zelensky's asset, London's asset, because Zelensky himself is a British asset, right? And I guess Washington was not happy with Stefanishina, as Washington is not really that happy with Zelensky or with London's policies in regards to Ukraine, to say it in general terms. And there are clearly this information, by the way, that British asset, former Ukrainian ambassador to US, Stefanishina, is being charged by US-controlled NABU and SAP anti-corruption bureaus in Ukraine, definitely highlights once again that clearly there is an internal confrontation inside the Western ruling class when US ruling class is combating European ruling class and British ruling class simultaneously, right? And it is hard to tell which one is dominating. One might say still British ruling class, British intelligence have a stronger positions, but well, I don't know. I would not be that confident on this matter. But anyways, let them meet each other, man, isn't it? Let them meet each other, man. They all are scumbags, right? Either European elites, either American elites, or the British elites, right? They're scumbags. They are evil force, existential threat for humanity, and that is that. But once again, this information highlights that they clearly are fighting each other also over Ukraine and over a number of other topics. Meanwhile, of course, there is a Middle East that continues to make a lot of headlines, dear friends. Trump stated that next 48 hours will be decisive, and after that, some key decisions will be made. God knows what he means by this, but 48 hours were mentioned by also Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. So probably after 48 hours, I mean, late Friday, by the way, by Washington time, they're going to launch missiles, I guess. Correct? When markets are closed, we know what's going on, isn't it? When markets are closed, they're going to launch attacks on Iran. They will continue on Saturday with these attacks, maybe, and on Sunday, they will probably say again that, well, Iranians ask us to get engaged in the talks. And on Sunday, because they don't want Monday markets to fall down, isn't it? This bloody clown show is just too much, really, now. Too freaking much, isn't it? Total insanity, man. And I've said many times before, man, they will continue this all sorts of deception operations and stuff until until later autumn, early winter, when they will actually, I mean Western ruling class, will actually launch next phase of war. Before that, they're going to be verbal escalations and tit for tat exchange of fire, and that's exactly what we are observing. Meanwhile, also reports are coming in that US and Iran, together with Oman, allegedly are close to reaching agreement on Hormuz Strait. And this is also a nonsensical report because like already 2 days ago, it was known that Iran and Oman are close, kind of, to reach an agreement on navigation in Hormuz Strait. According to information, both countries will be in charge of Strait. Both countries will receive fees or payments for services that they will provide to vessels to navigate safely. Those ships that will enter Persian Gulf through Hormuz Strait, and there is no other way to enter, they will use a northern route. They will use a northern route, which is Iranian waters. So vessels that will try to enter Persian Gulf will use this northern route, right? And vessels that will leave Persian Gulf will use a southern route that will go in Omani waters. Profits or proceeds from these services that two countries will provide will be split 50-50. That's an agreement, and well, now Western propaganda wants to bring in US in this whole story. I don't think it's relevant what US will have to say or will want to say, because they are out of um, they are out of relevance, really. And at some point, when Western ruling class will lose this war against the Middle East, against Iran and the entire Middle East, and that's what is going on actually. At that point, I think Tehran and Muscat will actually implement these new maritime routes or navigation routes through Strait of Hormuz that they are agreeing right now through negotiations. Meanwhile, until there is no agreements, no nothing in place, Iran is unilaterally is in charge of Strait, and surprisingly, there are still some vessels, by the way, that think they can ignore Iran, and another one container shipper try to through in the area of Strait of Hormuz without contacting Iranian side, without receiving green light from Iran to go ahead and move. And well, you guess what happened to that vessel? It gets smoked, man. It gets smoked, really. And you can see that smoke, by the way, coming out of the vessel on the screen. Imbeciles, isn't it? Whoever is in charge of companies that are ordering their captains of the vessels to risk it and go through strait or move around without Iran's permissions, they're totally imbeciles, isn't it? And even if companies are even ordering two captains to move, I think captains have authority to disobey order of their company if this order will endanger the crew members, right? So why these captains are not using this authority that they have? Are they suicidal or something? How many vessels gonna get smoked until everybody will learn that if you don't have Iran's green light, then you don't move around Strait of Hormuz, man. You just don't do it. Houthi rebels, meanwhile, stated that they targeted the Saudi oil tanker, Saudi-linked oil tanker Wafar, which was hit by multiple ballistic missile off coast of Yanbu, calling the attack part of group's siege with the siege strategy. And well, I said earlier, by the way, that Saudi made a crucial mistake, fundamental mistake, while escalating with the Yemen and then with Iraq and Iraqi Shiites. I don't know what the hell is going on in Riyadh, by the way, but lately, especially, they are leaving impression of being suicidal, truly. But if that's their choice, then that's their choice, right? They should get ready for consequences then. And also, I want to share with you, dear friends, information that, as I said, that confirms basically what I have said quite a few times before while analyzing the developments in the Middle East. And I have information for you that confirms existence of this highway towards the hell, that I want to call it, existence of this highway to the hell, which is being created by US, Israel, and their allies through northern Syria and northern Iraq to link basically Kurdistan with the Mediterranean and use Mediterranean for shipments of all sorts of equipment and munition and the manpower and everything, right, into Iraqi Kurdistan. Also, there are reports that US is diverting towards the direction its assets throughout the region, right? So there is a movement now that are depicted on videos, actually, when columns of US equipment is moving closer to Iran, and this closer to Iran, which area that is? It's Iraqi Kurdistan. Iraqi Kurdistan, and there are no wonder, clear preparation, by the way, additional indicator, and the confirmation that U.S. Under the orders of Western ruling class, U.S. leadership is preparing the country and U.S. militaries for next phase of a war, which will include ground invasion. Now, U.S. mostly focused on the transfer of military equipment and munition and all that kind of stuff, because rapid deployment of manpower can be done in a relatively short time, but this equipment stuff takes longer, right? And so they are pushing now all the equipment and whatever else they think they will need. On the late stages, they will push tens of thousands of troops, I think, tens of thousands of U.S. troops, by the way, into Iraqi Kurdistan, and also we will see increase in the numbers of amphibious warships of U.S. in Arab Sea, right, in Indian Ocean, Arab Sea. They will bring all their assault vessels that they have, all of it, right? Every single this amphibious warship that U.S. has and still is operational will be in about 2 months' time in Arabian Sea to participate in a ground invasion of into this southeastern part of Iran from Omani Gulf, where Beluji minority lives, and the minority of this minority is armed, by the way. They are separatist, terrorist groups right there. And CIA and Mossad and MI6 are actively working with those groups to use them also as their tool, right, during this invasion. So there is two major directions, the southern eastern part and also northern part from Iraqi Kurdistan. Although situation is not very clear in regards to Caucasus region also. Maybe Western ruling class will that has full control over the Azerbaijan and Armenia will use these former Soviet republics too for all sorts of military and terrorist activity against Iran. I'm quite sure they will, by the way. Only question is scale. Right? Also, and no wonder, because of this activity, because of this existence or creation of this highway to the hell on the north of Syria, north of Iraq by US, British, Israeli Secret Services, no wonder Iran's special forces are very busy, eliminating separatist leadership of separatist terrorist groups that are stationed there in Iraqi Kurdistan, all sorts of other terrorist groups that have camps there, and Iranian special forces, obviously eliminating logistical lines and military assets of US in the region, obviously, right? And in previous days, yesterday or day before, I highlighted this news, also this morning, that Iran's 23rd Takawar Special Forces Brigade carried out 14 missions inside the Iraqi Kurdistan, including Erbil and Salamaniya in their past 4 months, eliminating various Kurdish separatist leaders. And I guess not just leaders, but as I said, logistical points, warehouses, and the rest of it, right? And this is just the one special forces formation. I'm quite sure other special forces units are also very busy, and they have to be, right? Because it is obvious that Iraqi Kurdistan is a bridgehead that will be used by US and its allies to invade Iran. One of the bridgeheads, right? I don't know if American society, if US society pays any attention to all these developments, by the way. I'm not sure majority in US understands that Washington is actively engaged in the preparations for, not just for escalation with Iran, but for ground invasion, right? When literally tens of thousands of US troops will be deployed together with potentially Israeli forces and also forces from Europe. And I remind you that relatively recently, dear friends, there was reports that Israel plans to mobilize 250,000 reservists. Israel plans to mobilize 250,000 reservists in September. What for? Yes, you might say because they want to do some, further aggression in Lebanon, in Gaza, in the West Bank. Yes, that's certainly a probability, but I also think that they might want to mobilize this force to participate in a ground invasion of Iran. Wouldn't be surprised at all. And they have a ground route, by the way. They have a ground route that they can, ground corridor that they can use, right? From Israel, they can deploy their forces through Syrian territory into northern Iraq. And you know who controls Syria, isn't it? It's the US and Israel. Yes, Turkey has a serious presence in Syria, but you think Turkey will block globalists and the Western ruling class if they will demand Syria to open this corridor for Israel to deploy its forces? Of course, the Damascus regime will do nothing about it, man. Nothing. 100%. So Israel will be engaged there, and European countries too, I think. Europeans going to be engaged too, one way or another. But globalists will and their secret services will do something to justify direct involvement or direct open involvement of European NATO member states into this invasion of Iran. It's just matter of time, right? And let's continue, dear friends. Or let's continue with some other news. Although before, let me make these screenshots. Let me make screenshots of the super chats on Rumble. Otherwise, after a certain time, comments are disappearing from the chat. Super chats also, and there was a one day last week, that was, isn't it? Or when I was not careful enough, and I actually was unable. I actually missed the opportunity or the moment to screenshot the super chat. Okay, I've done it. So let's continue now. My apologies, dear friends, that this is a very casual style of programs. Maybe some members of our community would prefer more polished programs, right? I have a very casual style, but giving their technical abilities right now, this is the way that I can do my programs. And some members might actually prefer this friendly, casual style of the communication, right? Because if someone wants a very polished stuff, then yeah, there is an MSM out there, right? Extremely polished ones. But if a casual, unfiltered, friendly conversation, communication is okay with you, then I'm happy about it. And so, okay, dear friends, let's continue with some more news. But before that, once again, let me drop in a YouTube chat a link of my Rumble channel in case you have a account, dear friends, on Rumble. Subscribe if you can, because you never know, man, how long my channel is gonna stay on YouTube. They might take down my channel anytime. I already have a warning from YouTube, right? So Rumble might become a major line of communication for us in near future. You just never know. But I hope, of course, I hope YouTube will not block my channel, but will not be surprised either. Anyways, let's continue with some more news. And where I was, by the way, I was here, right? Well, interesting news. Interesting news. Dear friends, while talking about Middle Eastern developments, I have said quite a few times that if any one side will use nukes there, it's not going to be Israel, it's going to be US, and I'm quite sure there is a high probability that US will actually go for a nuclear strikes on Iran. It would not bring the victory to the Western ruling class, but they might actually order their puppet regime in the US to go nuclear against Iran in order to engulf not just Iran, but entire region into fire of destruction and violence on sectarian and ethnic lines, right? And well, I was not surprised at all when I see this report, therefore, that Pentagon allegedly drafting a major overhaul of US nuclear doctrine. Their classified strategies set to reshape decades of US nuclear doctrine, prioritizing tactical nuclear weapons. And this is a big deal, prioritizing tactical nuclear weapons. Where are they gonna use tactical nuclear weapons? Strategical nuclear weapons are basically weapons of deterrent, right? Strategical nuclear weapons are based on warheads are based on these ICBMs, right? Intercontinental ballistic missiles, mostly. In case of Russia, on the ground, right? There is mobile systems that we have, mobile ICBMs. Also on the submarines. In case of US, ICBMs are also stationary on the ground. US does not have mobile launchers, only stationary ones, bunkers, and plus submarines. Of course, US has more nuclear warheads that are on missiles, air-launched missiles, right? But these are all strategical means of delivery. And now, and US actually has also a lot of, quite a number of tactical nuclear weapons, but most of the nuclear capabilities of Russia and the US are strategical. Now US wants to shift this towards tactical nuclear weapons. And I mean, in my personal opinion, I don't know what you think, dear friends, but in my personal opinion, this is clear indicator that some rethink has happened among the think tanks in the US. They are realizing that US might still be considered as a major superpower, military superpower in this world, but with conventional means, with conventional weapons, US is no longer capable, if ever was actually, to to force countries left and right into submission or to defeat them militarily. And I think this is extremely risky shift now, because if US gonna go more focused on tactical nukes, that means that they're gonna change their strategy, operational strategy, tactical strategies, right? They're gonna come up with their plans in the future that will include their deployment of tactical nukes. That's what they're gonna do, man. US is moving closer and closer towards the active use of tactical nuclear weapons whenever they are engaged in military hostilities, some serious resistance. And I think this report here is additional confirmation of my prediction that there is a high probability. It's not even a prediction. My take that there is a high probability that US will use tactical nuclear weapons against Iran. I think there is 30-40% chances out of 100 that US will use tactical nukes, maybe even more. Maybe even more, because without tactical nuclear weapons, Western ruling class being deployed by US, Western ruling class does not even have a theoretical chance, right? Even in theoretical calculations, they would not be able to come up with a realistic, more or less realistic chance to succeed in the Middle Eastern chapter. With the tactical nuclear weapons, well, they can succeed in their strategy there in the Middle East, because all they want is to engulf entire region into a war, right? And they will succeed in that. They want to destroy entire region, and nukes will give them that ability. So maybe in reality, probability that US will deploy tactical nukes is 60, 70, 80%, not 30, 40, as I said. And also when it comes to US and its military strategies, we have this report that the US Navy will receive, US Navy will spend basically 76 billion for Virginia and Columbia class submarines. Axios reports that Pentagon is investing $76 billion in the submarine fleet, but deadlines are being missed, and there is a labor shortage. And US definitely has a massive issue when it comes to shipyards, military shipyards. Right now, I think US only receives maybe one submarine a year or something like that, if any at all. China is way ahead when it comes to submarine production. And I'm not quite sure this vast investments, 70 billion or whatever the sum is, gonna truly enhance US shipbuilding capabilities, because these military vessels, man, these are quite unique stuff, right? To build a new shipyard, you need to have guarantees that you will use those shipyards regularly, right? That's the only way you can keep professional staff in the place. Otherwise, not the money, not even technology, but manpower are gonna become professional manpower, or workforce gonna become a main issue. And well, Axios is kind of pointing out that Pentagon has awarded their record contracts worth 76.6 billion for construction of Virginia class and Columbia class nuclear submarines. These are attack submarines, by the way, I believe. Right now, US only has Ohio class submarines, relatively old ones actually, that are armed with their ICBMs, right? But Los Angeles and Virginia class submarines are attack submarines. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. So American defense industry continues to burn through billions of dollars in an attempt to maintain nuclear parity, but even massive budgets aren't solving the main problem. American shipbuilding is failing apart. And it's not just American shipbuilding, by the way, due to this corrupt system that US has in place, corrupt political system, corrupt economical system. Everything is falling apart in US, literally everything. Is there any single field where US is actually successful, truly successful? I mean, we have members of community from the US. I mean, they can tell us which field is that US is actually really succeeding. Which? Don't tell me AI and stuff, by the way. It's all a freaking scam, right? This AI stuff, man, and this data centers, and it's a freaking bubble. And when this bubble will burst, the US gonna face 10 times worse consequences that during the dot-com bubble burst, right? So due to this corrupt political system, corrupt economical system, the US is failing as a state. in all directions, literally. And no one knows this better than US citizens themselves. And they know it. That's why they are not happy with the direction that US is moving, right? And with the overall situation. Anyways, there are a few more news, dear friends. As I said, the news update will be bigger, but hopefully all the news that I reported, I mean, is interesting in your opinion, because I think they are interesting. That's why I picked them out of many others, right? So TASS News Agency is also reporting that launch of a first power unit of Akau nuclear power plant in Turkey that is built by Russia, Russian Rosatom, is planned for the end of this year. And of course, this is going to be a big deal for Turkey. Although same time, Ankara has to get ready right now for all sorts of media attacks, informational attacks on it, propaganda attacks on it, because of course Israel will use all the same tactics against Turkey as they did against Iran when it comes to this topic of the nuclear programs. Once Turkey has operational nuclear reactors, of course Zionists will start pushing the narrative that, well, Turkey has a secret military nuclear program, they are building the nuclear bomb, and they are doing this and that, and the Western world will follow that, will swallow that again, right, as they did in regards to Iran, although Iran never had no military nuclear program, never, and many Iranians probably regret that, but they never actually try to build their nuclear weapons, So Zion is going to use the same tactic, obviously, against Turkey, and I think Ankara knows about it. Probably they will try to come up with some countermeasures. Either way, what I don't understand, dear friends, in all this story, why on earth Russia is building nuclear power plant in Turkey, man? I mean, Iran, okay, I understand we are strategical partners, but Turkey is not our strategical partner. Turkey is a NATO member state and not really friendly to Russia. Never was friendly to Russia. Let's be real, man. Turkey is a historical enemy of Russia. So why we are giving them this like top-notch technology, man? Why? I don't know. Makes no sense, really. Some might say that, well, Russia will have some leverage over the Turkey once these nuclear reactors are operational, because Turkey will be dependent on Russia more. Yeah, maybe, right? But I don't know. After all, once these plants are built, Turkey might ask France, right, to redesign reactors so that it will use, let's say, French nuclear rods, nuclear fuel for operation. I don't know, man. I have a issue trusting Turkish leadership. I don't trust Turkish leadership, never will, right? And as I said, man, historically, it so happened that Turkey was always Russian enemy. Always, man. Turkey was fighting alongside their other Russian enemies, historically speaking, UK or British Empire, French Empire, And so I don't know, man. I don't think this was a good idea to build nuclear power plant in Turkey, but it's it's late. It's too late now, isn't it? Contract is in place, and before end of the year, first reactor will be fully operational, I guess, right? According to this report. So, anyways, dear friends, few more news for you, and then let's have a good community chat. I can see there was a number of super chats on Rumble. There is quite a number of recommendations also that I received from Christopher through PayPal, and I will highlight that all, of course. But first, let me finalize this program. I'm already tired, man. maybe I will. Maybe, I don't know. I can leave this news for next update, but no. Let's finalize the update. So yesterday I mentioned, dear friends, that Russian Pacific Fleet was conducting exercises, and we have a little more details on that. So exercises will involve 13,000 servicemen, approximately 60 warships and submarines, as well as about 30 aircraft, helicopter, and unmanned aerial vehicle systems. Exercises are taking place in the waters of Sea of Japan and the Sea of Okhotsk, as well as the northwestern part of the public Pacific Ocean. Um, Also, when it comes to this military stuff, dear friends, China has revealed their first time its airborne nuclear strike system. A clip was published, basically from China, that shows H-6N bomber carrying what appears to be nuclear-capable JL-1 missile. And well, it is anybody's guess. It is anybody's guess why China decided now that they have to make it public that they have these capabilities, but they did. This is their video difference, and that's the missile. That's the missile that is a nuclear capable. Well, I guess this is some sort of a message to Japan and the US, right? Because you know these are the countries that China probably considers most dangerous to itself. So some update, clearly some update, serious update in nuclear capabilities of Iran. Also, sorry, China. Also, we have reports that Chinese government has imposed restrictions on 6 U.S. organizations in response to U.S. sanctions, which were imposed on the grounds of alleged forced labor. So China is retaliating with sanctions for the sanctions that U.S. is imposing on China, and everybody already knows that when China goes sanctioning someone, that has actual consequences. After all, due to Chinese restrictions, U.S. Lockheed Martin is unable to deliver F-35s to its customers, its American customers, Pentagon basically, which would be equipped with the radars. That's what these Chinese restrictions do, man. That Lockheed Martin cannot build properly its planes now, right? It's fifth gen F-35s, and quite a number of those planes were transferred to Pentagon without freaking radars. What is the point in such a plane, man? Can anybody explain? So well, U.S. will face some more consequences after these retaliatory sanctions from China. Also, we have a report that there was a successful launch of two AI-powered hyperspectral satellites aboard the Smart Dragon 3 rocket from the Yellow Sea. China launched basically this rocket with these two advanced satellites from the vessel, right, that acts as a space station in the Yellow Sea. Satellites are able to provide high precision monitoring across China and the global land and the sea observation, and quick onboard AI data processing. I guess with the quicker onboard AI data processing, so I guess it will be very very fast, right? They will cut timing when it comes to monitoring any point in this planet. You will just tell AI what to do, and AI will do everything for you. You will get final result in seconds. So something that definitely further enhances Chinese military capabilities, I guess, also among other things. And well, I want to share with you, dear friends, this information too, that India allegedly has finally made the final decision not to purchase Russian Su-57 fighter jets. New Delhi has made the final decision not to purchase Russian fifth generation Su-57 fighter jets, opting instead to modernize its existing combat aircraft fleet, said Indian Defense Ministry spokesman Rajesh Kumar Singh. And well, what can I say, man? It's sad, man. Unfortunate that India is not going to buy this plane. Okay, they will go for modernization of its Su-30 fleet, and India has more Russian multi-role Su-30 fighter jets, by the way, than Russia. India's fleet is like over 200 planes of that type, so probably they will go for modernization of Su-30s. Maybe they will go for additional purchases of Rafale fighter jets, and maybe they will buy US F-35s without freaking radar. I'm being ironic, by the way. But who knows, man? Maybe they will actually go for American F-35s, man. Would not be surprised at all. Would not be surprised at all. Given their level of influence that Western ruling class has on China, sorry, on India. But yeah, it is unfortunate that India would not have Su-57s. You know what? Maybe they will buy two-seater. You know, recently Russian aerospace industry developed a two-seater variation of Su-57 that is going to be combat trainer and also, I think, multi-role modification. And who knows? Maybe India will buy that multi-role modification with their fighter pilot and the reserve, right? Who knows, man? Could be case. Also, dear friends, interesting news that most G7 countries allegedly spend more on debt servicing than on defense, according to Bloomberg, which is quite interesting. In Italy, the cost of servicing their national debt are almost 3 times higher than their defense budget, which is insane, isn't it? While in the United States, they are more than twice the amount of spent military expenses. Well, when it comes to US, this number is going to change because if this year US Pentagon's budget is around 800, right? 800 plus billion. Next year, according to reports, US will spend 1.5 trillion on the budget, on defense budget. So therefore, in case of US, this will change. But yes, G7 countries spending on servicing the debtor more than on defense. That's quite a signal about a place where these Western economies, mostly Western economies, are. Of course, Japan is only, I mean, can be called a member of the Western world, but technically, at least, it's Asian country, isn't it? RIA Novosti is reporting, meanwhile, that Russia legalized cryptocurrency circulation. President Vladimir Putin signed a law legalizing cryptocurrencies in Russia. A document recognizes digital currencies as a property, introduces requirements for their circulation, and provides for judicial protection and rights, regardless of prior declaration. Russians will be able to legally invest in the cryptocurrencies on the domestic exchanges and use their services of brokers, trust managers, management companies, and exchangers when conducting transactions and operations. So I guess that's okay news, right? I'm not really expert in the cryptocurrencies, dear friends. I don't know much about it, but I guess legalization of something that exists and they're actively used in economical field by many people is the right way forward, because you will have at least certain ways of protecting this field, protecting participants in this field, right? So I guess this is a good thing. Share your opinion, your friends, what you think. Is cryptocurrency circulation is legal in your country? Probably it is. Probably we are a bit late in this field, and the majority of countries worldwide already legalized cryptocurrency circulation. Don't know much about it, but we did it just now. And I want to add a new segment, dear friends, on this also interesting news. I think that and important news, in my opinion, because it might cause these developments in Germany might actually cause the civil war or disintegration of that country. So, allegedly thousand German lawyers petition to ban Germany's largest party, AfD, Alternative for Deutschland. They argue the party is unconstitutional, warning that inaction risks serious damage to democracy. The AfD now, one of their country's strongest political forces, opposes mass migration and their endless Ukrainian aid. And well, it is astonishing, isn't it? As I commented right there under the news, to see how all sorts of these scumbags, by the way, that seize their position of power and authority in the Western countries, justify their tyrannical ideas, ideologies, and decisions with with alleged desire to protect democracy. How insane is that, man? Because of these mentally ill degenerates, the entire Western world is beginning to resemble psychiatric clinic. I commented there on the news, and I think I'm on point, isn't it? Some crazy stuff is going on in the Western world that, I mean, extremely difficult to not just understand, but I don't know, man, what to even say. Why societies in the West are putting up with this nonsense, I don't know. But now they want to ban most popular party. AfD is the most popular party in the country. They want to ban this party, right? And coming up with all sorts of nonsense. They want to ban this party, and they are claiming that they are defending democracy by doing so. Okay, man. Okay. It's crazy. It's crazy what is going on. And yet again, because AfD is most popular in Eastern Germany, by the way, if something is actually done to ban this party, would not be surprised at all if eventually Germany will face serious civil unrest, maybe even civil war, right? And potentially even disintegration. Could be, man. We should not forget that Germany in modern form exists only for like around 200 years, or less than that, right? These German-speaking people, descendants of different German tribes, basically, were rarely united as under the one center. And Berlin is clearly risking, by the way, globalists and globalist puppets in German leadership clearly are risking to provoke processes that will eventually lead to disintegration of modern Germany. Could happen, man. Why would the West Germans put up with this insanity that is being normalized in the rest of the country, man, in the western part of the country? Why would they? I don't know. And dear friends, I refuse to believe that all these parties in so-called alternative field are Nazi parties or fascist parties or something like that, just because globalists say so. I remind you, dear friends, that those very same globalists and regimes that they control all over the West, including in Germany, are in support, in literal, material, financial, political, media support, physical support of actual Nazi mass murderers in Ukraine, right? Let's not forget that. That's how it is. So that's it, man. That's it. When it comes to news segment, I remember that Laura Loomer, American blogger, when she went to Ukraine recently, there was a paid tour, I guess, paid campaign, and she had a meeting with her with Azov leader, and she posted that, well, you see, they call Azov Nazis, and I mean, she's somehow alive, so they should not be. They are not Nazis. Therefore, man, that's the level of faking propaganda that West is pushing now. It's unbelievable, man, right? So therefore, I might have my questions, my skepticism in regards to these alternative parties. I am not quite sure if they are actually independent and not a part of a game plan that globalists have. But either way, one should not take these parties as Nazis or the fascists just because globalists and globalist-controlled current regimes all over the West say so. Because if anything, those very same globalists and the current European elites are in support of actual Nazis in Ukraine for many, many years now, and Ukrainian Nazis are extremely, extremely grateful for that to Europeans, that they are receiving all sorts of supports from the West. Okay, that's I guess that's it for the news segment. Let's go for community chat now, dear friends. How long is this update? 2 hours, man. Now, dear friends. Let's go for community chat, and I will start. I will start with recommendation. I will mix, by the way, recommendations from Christopher and the super chats, and then recommendations. So this way, it will be more interesting, I think. So I will start with a recommendations from Christopher. Thank you very much, Christopher, for your support of this project and my work, and through PayPal for your donations and the recommendations that you send. And there is recommendation, your friends. Terrifying, intense close-range combat footage caught on camera video can be seen on YouTube channel Military Update. Second recommendation, Russia SG-100 faces tough competition, but airlines keep buying this plane. Russian SG Superjet 100, by the way, is a plane that is produced by Sukhoi Constructor Bureau that produces Su-27, Su-30, Su-35, Su-57 fighter jets, right? So no wonder SG-100 is tough fighter, despite stiff competition on a global market. This video about SJ100 can be seen on Altitude Addicts channel. Third recommendation from Christopher. It's the same topic. It's the same recommendation. Christopher just added that Altitude Altitude Addicts channel has 30.9k subs, by the way. So thank you, Christopher, for these recommendations. Now let me react on super chat. Then I will go back to recommendations, and let's do like that. Scooby's super chat. Thank you very much, Scooby, for your super chat and their dollar donation. And Scooby says in a super chat, free Palestine, not freeze, but free Palestine. And I agree with this statement, absolutely. Freeze the war, right? And force the Israelis to get out of the Palestinian territories. I will add that too to this call, by the way. Now let's share recommendations. Also from Christopher, a youth crowd erupts as Putin kicks a football before a speech. This video can be seen on the YouTube channel Freelancier channel. Now has 87.3k subs. So dear friends, I know about it. I have not seen the video itself and speech of Putin, but I know he was at some event and the ball end up on the stage, and Putin demonstrated that he knows not just how to play hockey, but he has some skills in football also. Okay, good. So you can see the video on a freelancer channel, dear friends. Another recommendation: Chinese space capsule coming to Russia. This video can be seen on YouTube channel called Traveling with the Russell. Traveling with the Russell. He is still on 199,000 subscribers. Well, maybe members of our community, Christopher, will check out the channel and will subscribe, and maybe we will help, or maybe you will help, and our community to this channel to reach 200 case. Well, might be the case. Chinese space capsule coming to Russia. That's quite a topic, isn't it? Quite a topic, interesting one. I wonder what this video is about. Have to check, man. Have to check. Another recommendation: escaping fuel crisis in Russia, driving to Moscow, day 15. This video can be seen on YouTube channel called Lisa, the Russian. She still has 103,000 subs. I mean, these are big channels, by the way, big channels, 2-3 times bigger than my channel. Thank you for a recommendation. Thank you for recommendations, Christopher. And that's another statement from Scooby, F the Zionism. And I agree with that too. Actually, F the Zionism. Zionism is a modern day fascism, by the way. Nazism, fascism, ethnic supremacy or religious supremacy, actually, because Zionism is more focused on just religious supremacy element. So yes, I mean, after Zionism, this is a modern day fascism for sure. Thank you, Scooby, for sharing with us and for your support to my work and this project. Let's continue with another recommendation from Christopher. When Russian FPV drone strikes Ukrainian T-72 tanker, this video can be seen on YouTube channel called the Tapur Update. And well, I think I know what's going on in that video. In today's first update, I actually shared the video, I think, but maybe this is some other instance. And so, yes, Tapur Update, dear friends, has, I guess, compilation of latest videos from a battlefield, including story with that T-72 of Kiev regime's forces. For whatever reason, Kiev regime commanders decided that they're going to attack Russian positions with the armored vehicles, including with the tanks. And even though this tank was equipped with this protective gear, let's say, it did not really help. It didn't really help much. And you can see what happened after on a Tapur Update channel. Another recommendation, Larry, Downing Street cat. Why I can be found in cartoons. This video can be seen on YouTube channel called Breed Clipper, 150k subs. Larry is a white tabby cat. He is a 19. Seriously, man, he's a 19-year-old cat. Wow. I think this is a cat from Downing Street 10, isn't it? Where British prime ministers, act important, right? While never being one. Also, thank you for recommendation. Another recommendation from Christopher. Watch how Russia's new LNG buses are made. This video can be seen on Altitude Addicts, still on 30.9k subs. Altitude Addicts, and different. There are a lot of modern hardware, let's say, when it comes to municipal transport here in Russia, including in Moscow. There are LNG buses that are working on a gas. So there are buses that are fully electric, and so you can watch this video on Altitude Addicts and have a better knowledge about municipal transport here in Russia. Thank you very much, which is very developed, by the way. I think municipal transport in Moscow probably is best in the world. You might argue that in your city municipal transport is better or something, but okay, we can have an argument. But I think municipal transport here in Moscow, from buses and the trams to metro, by the way, it's just great, literally great. By the way, it's good, actually good, man. Buses are on time, trams are on time, metro is on time, everything is on time, everything works actually, right? So it's all good. It's all good, and it's not that expensive. I mean, if you, for tourists at least, right? If you live here in Moscow and are using transporter like several times a day or many times a day, yeah, eventually it might become costly. That's why we have all sorts of cards, by the way, Troika and this and that, right, to make it a little cheaper. But anyways, it's great. And after all, we have to pay, right? We have to, if we want to have a good infrastructure, we have to pay for it, right? Because this money have to come from somewhere, right? And there are aliens from Andromeda Galaxy not gonna pay for it. So anyways, it's truly great. I mean, municipal transport here in Moscow is definitely best in the world, I will argue. Let any city compete with Moscow. Let them try, man. Thank you very much, Christopher, for these recommendations. Now let me highlight a super chat and then again recommendations. There was the friends, a very generous donation from Saima through super chatter feature on Rumble. Thank you very much, Saima, for your for a $50 donation. And comment from Saima is, thank you for being dedicated to bringing us regular and thoughtful updates, Levan. Thank you very much, Saima. I'm trying my best to create for community interesting, informative updates, and hopefully I'm doing a good job. Thank you very much, Saima, for your kind words and generous donation and support. Thank you. Let's continue, dear friends, with a recommendation from Christopher. And so Christopher is recommending right bank of Kiev is on kilometers of fire. Kilometers of fire, numerous impacts. This video can be seen on YouTube channel called Military Tube Today. Well, this video probably will be compilation of these strikes, of Russian missile strikes past night, possibly before that too, and the aftermath of these strikes. Military Tube Today, by the way, that's their channel that has this latest video on that. Also, another recommendation: walking in Irkutsk Solnichny district, Soviet apartment, live, and their icebreaker, Angara, Russia. This video can be seen on YouTube channel called Siberian Walk, 1.1 thousand subscribers. And dear friends, if you like traveling channels, then this might be the one that you will enjoy, Siberian Walk. And you can see there in this video, giving their headline that it's about Irkutsk. That latest episode, I guess, is about Irkutsk, which is one of the coldest places in the world in the winter, obviously, right? It's a Russian Far East. Also, another recommendation from Christopher, Su-57, fantastic aerobatics with afterburners. This video can be seen on a YouTube channel called O Kendrior Plane Spotting. This channel has 185k subs. And well, if you like military aviation, yeah, you will enjoy definitely aerobatics from Su-57. It's a wonderful plane. I personally think Su-57 is the most beautiful fighter jet ever created, right? Of course, members of argument from US might argue that, they might say that no, F-22 is better looking, but I will say no, not even close. I mean, honestly, man, F-22 is a good fighter jet, no doubts about that, but it's not even close when it comes to look. Su-57 is a best looking fighter jet ever created. And second best is Su-35, if you ask me, and third, Su-30. But yet again, I might be objective, I might be subjective. Actually, I think I'm objective, but I might be subjective. We can have different opinions on that. So aerobatics of Su-57 are demonstrated on all Kendrior plane spotting. That's the name of the channel. Thank you, Christopher, for these recommendations. And now let's continue with the super chat. Before super chat, let me thank Viper for a $5 donation through premium subscription gift card. Thank you very much, Viper, for your support and attention and the premium subscription gift card. Thank you very much. And let's continue with super chat from Wayward. Thank you very much, Wayward, for your super chat and the donations through super chats. Wayward is commenting, you would be more accurate, Levan, if you say NATO drone strike on Russia with their cover excuse of Ukraine. NATO won't stop until Putin decides to confront them. And I agree with you 100%. I actually accidentally today exactly during this live stream, or maybe this morning when I was recording first update, I phrased it in a way like this strike of NATO member states under the cover of Ukraine or something on these lines. That's how I phrase it, because it's true. It's NATO countries that are conducting these attacks on Russian Federation while hiding behind this proxy regime that they have in Ukraine. So I agree with you 100%. And unfortunately, it is also obviously true that unless we restore the deterrent with the collective West, it is highly unlikely that they will even think about ending their attacks on ending these long-range attacks on the Russian people and the Russian Federation, Russian economy. Thank you very much, Wayward, for your super chatter and the donation. Let's continue, dear friends, with other recommendations from Christopher. There are more interesting recommendations. So Russian Su-34 destroyed Ukrainian FPV drone facilities. FAB 5000 spotted for the first time. FAB 5000. How come I missed this, man? Really? Why am I hearing about it now first time? Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm gonna check this video for sure. because I have seen numerous FAB 3000 strikes, but I have never seen FAB 5000 strike. So Russian Su-34 destroyed Ukrainian FPV drone factories. FAB 5000 spotted for the first time. This video can be seen on YouTube channel called Murat San. And I'm subscribed on this channel, by the way. I actually watched yesterday their latest compilation of the videos from the battlefield there. And they're different if you pay close attention to military developments. Definitely, I'm quite sure you will find this channel interesting for sure. Another recommendation, Moscow is absolutely stunning. Russian Summer Walker 2026 in 4K. This video can be seen on YouTube channel called Sandra Presents. She only has 4.5K subs for now, but I'm quite sure her channel will grow in numbers quite rapidly, because these channels, by the way, that are expats are creating, and I think she's probably, I mean, I don't know, but maybe she's an expat herself. Maybe she moved in Russia, because Sandra is not typical Russian name, right? So that's why I'm guessing so. And maybe, not maybe, but I'm quite sure, her channel will grow quite rapidly. Name of the channel is Sandra Presents, and I'm happy that she did find Moscow absolutely stunning, as everybody else does, man. Everybody else, right? Only in the Western propaganda, by the way. Only in the Western totally insane propaganda you might hear anything negative about Moscow. But whoever is objective, whenever they are talking about Moscow, they always admit that city is just wonderful, right? And brilliantly, absolutely wonderfully organized. And we are talking about not some small village, by the way. This is a city of 15 to 20 million people, right? I think about 15 million people live here in Moscow on a regular basis, right? And about 3 to 5 million people are coming to Moscow, commuting to Moscow for work every day and going back to Moscow region every single day. So overall, at any given day, there might be around 15, 17 million people here in Moscow. I guess, right? Probably no one knows exact number, but that would be my guess. And this massive megapolis is extremely well organized, which is a truly achievement, right? To be proud of, for sure. So Sandra Presents, that's the channel, by the way, that Christopher is recommending to us. If you are, want to see Moscow, how Moscow looks in 4K on Sandra's channel. Another recommendation, hello everyone, I just want to let you know that YouTube channel called the Peacemonger is now up 16.2K. Well, that's a good stuff, isn't it? And I think, Christopher, you helped that channel big time with your recommendations, right? And thanks to your recommendations, our community, I'm quite sure, also helped her, and many members of community probably subscribe to the Peacemongers. So thank you for sharing, Christopher. Thank you for sharing, and let's continue with another super chat, and then recommendation again. So another super chat from Wayward. Once again, thank you, Wayward. Is that Kazakhstan has been corrupted by the US. They are not Russia's partners. As long as Putin refuses to deal harshly with these countries, they have no incentive to stop. And yeah, this is true. Kazakhstan is infiltrated by Western ruling class big time, by London, by Washington, or by Ankara, by the way, obviously, right? And I think only way only way these countries, former Soviet republics, and many others will behave themselves is when Moscow will restore the terms with the collective West, right? And when everyone will understand clearly that there is a lines, right? There is a boundaries that you don't want to cross. Until then, unfortunately, we will see quite irrational and in some instances unfriendly behavior from a number of these countries, not just from the West, but also from formerly friendly states too, like Kazakhstan, which is on paper, by the way, Russian ally, right? Not just economical, political, but military ally, because both of us are members of their collective security treaty organization. You know, so thank you very much, Wayward, for sharing. Another recommendation from Christopher, dear friends. I already shared this one, isn't it? I shared this one, so then these ones. Thank you again, Christopher, for your donations through PayPal and the recommendations. And there is two more recommendations. They are trying to intimidate Russia. Why this strategy is questionable. Krapivnik and Polman. This video can be seen on YouTube channel Stanislav Krapivnik. And dear friends, I also joined Christopher in the recommendation to subscribe to Stanislav Krapivnik's channel. He's, I will say right now, he is the biggest name in Russian alternative media in segment of news and political commentary writer. I mean, maybe I'm forgetting. There are some other channels too, by the way, that are active in this field. But when it comes to like daily activity, regular activity, I think Stanislav Krapivnik is the biggest in this field from Russian. In Russian segment of alternative media, English language alternative media. So I definitely recommend, by the way. Thank you very much, Christopher, for sharing with us. And I agree with the narrative in the headline there that Western ruling class will fail to intimidate Russia and the Russian people. They have no chance. They never had any chance, actually. But they are too out of touch with reality to recognize that. You know, also another recommendation from Christopher: ending the war would be disaster for Europe. Russia sees talks pointless. Fyodor Lukyanov. This video can be seen on YouTube channel. They're peacemonger, and well, Fyodor Lukyanov is a Russian journalist, dear friends, editor of goodness me, I forget their name, of International Panorama, or something like that. I forget the name of the news media outlet of his, but he is well respected expert, by the way, analyst in the field, right? His opinion is being listened by many people. So I also recommend you, friends, to take a look at the conversation. The Peacemonger channel has a video where Fyodor Lukyanov is sharing his takes. So thank you very much, Christopher, for your interesting recommendations and for your supporter and donations through PayPal. And let's continue with the super chat. Also, Wayward is commenting. Thank you, Wayward, for super chats. And Wayward is commenting. Unfortunately, as long as Vladimir Putin is in charge, as long as Vladimir Putin is in charge in Russia, the war on Russia won't end. Whoever takes over in Russia after Putin, hopefully she will have more strength to confront NATO, US. This is just continuation of the previous super chatter, and well, I have said the same on many occasions. I think during my programs that I personally don't think Vladimir Putin is a person, is a figure that will authorize or greenlight Russian militaries and security services to restore deterrent with the collective West, because that will require retaliatory strikes on the NATO member states that are engaged in this war against Russian people and the Russian Federation. I don't see Putin giving such a green light. I just don't see it. Maybe I'm wrong on that. I mean, he can prove me wrong, right? If tomorrow he will actually authorize Russia's security services and militaries, but I don't think this would happen. And therefore, I think conflict will be frozen. And the next Russian president, as you pointed out, Wayward, next Russian president, he or she will have to finish the job. That's, I'm on the same page there with you. I think so too. And that's how it's gonna be. And as I said, this war will truly end only when Russian militaries will be on the border with Western Ukraine and will liberate everything, all historical Russian territories from Kharkov to Odessa, Kiev and surrounding regions, everything. And when it comes to Western Ukraine, let their Poland, their Hungary, and Romania, and their neighbors out there in Europe deal with that, right? With Western Ukraine and all the Nazis and the fascists that gonna gather there in Western Ukraine. Another super chat from Wayward. Daniel Davis yesterday had her on Joe Kent. Kent was talking about how one of the options probably being given to Trump is ground invasion, to use their vast amount of non-strategic weapons that U.S. has. Well, I mean, Joe Kent is saying this now. I was saying that U.S. next phase of the war will include ground invasion for a very, very long time. And, well, looks like Joe Kent and I, now we are on the same page. He also thinks they're going to be ground invasion. And, yeah, I mean, it seems inevitable right now. And when it comes to weaponry that the U.S. will use, I think I think Joe Kent is kind of more optimistic than I am in terms of these weapons, because I think there is a high probability that U.S. might use tactical nuclear weapons too. Not just conventional weapons, but tactical nuclear weapons too. Because with conventional warfare, I don't think U.S. has any chances, no matter who will send troops to assist, Israel or European countries, whomever. Nothing to be said about these terrorist groups, right, that are not really that battle capable, either Baluchi terrorist groups or the Kurdish terrorist groups. U.S. militaries and their allies, militaries of U.S. allies, they're not going to be able to defeat Iran in conventional warfare. I mean, I don't think they have a chance, and I think there is a probability that think tanks in the U.S. in the Pentagon, in Washington, probably will analyze the situation, and they might actually recommend White House and Pentagon to go nuclear if they have made final decision that they have to launch ground invasion. Because otherwise, if U.S. and its allies only go for conventional weaponry, well, this invasion will turn into massacre of invading force. Iranian forces will just massacre them in mass. You know, many people have no freaking idea what U.S. has signed up for, or anyone else that will send its troops into Iran. These people were preparing for this since the revolution, Bob, right? So they are prepared. I mean, if Iran demonstrated anything throughout this war, is that they are well prepared for war. in a long range war or ground war, they are well prepared. And if anything, I would recommend U.S. society to, wake up and demand from the leadership to, in no circumstances, go for a ground invasion and to get out of Iran and the Middle East immediately. That's what I would demand if I was a U.S. citizen. You know, and I'm afraid, instead of getting out of the region, getting out of the Iran war and or the region, uh, American ruling class will go for this next phase of escalation, ground invasion, because I don't think globalists will leave them any other option. Globalists and their allies that they have in America, and they have tremendous influence, by the way, in America, right? After all, Elon Musk has become a sort of a figure that is on the conservative side of file, isn't it? That's how he positions himself. While in reality, he is a freaking globalist, man, globalist asset, isn't it? He's financing Trump, he's financing Republicans, and he represents globalists. I mean, how crazy is that? So globalists tremendous grip on the Eastern, leave for Washington any opportunities to avoid the next phase of escalation. So therefore, only way this madness can be stopped is if U.S. society will wake up right now, immediately, right, and stop this madness while putting pressure on Washington. But we all know this is not going to happen. So therefore, unfortunately, escalation is inevitable, and that means a risk that U.S. will go for nuclear weapons is also increasing tremendously, because with conventional weapons, they have no chance. They just have no chance. Also, another super chat, dear friends, from Wayward. I already reacted on this, isn't it? So let's go for another one. Also from Wayward. Thank you very much, Wayward, for another super chat and for this interesting conversation and for your support. And Wayward is commenting, I have to be honest, I don't trust Joe Kent too much. He was an insider at the top of the Trump admin. The deep state is devious enough to put one of their guys in our alternative media sphere. And well, this is a field, Wayward, that I don't really have a strong opinion, because you are American, I'm not, right? You pay much closer attention to internal developments there in the US that I do. Although, of course, I pay attention too, but not on the same way, not on the same level. So therefore, I don't know what to even make of this person. I mean, I don't have negative attitude towards him, right? Because after all, he was I think only one, isn't it? Or maybe one out of very few who take a stand and resigned when US was used again, right, by certain outside forces to wage this war. Certain outside and inside forces to wage this war against Iran, right? He resigned. And he was quite specific that in his statements that White House was manipulated. Decision-making process in Washington was manipulated, and he was very clear that Iran was posing no threat for US. So there was no need to attack Iran. So he clearly took some stand, right, and took some heat, therefore, and everything else, right, that comes with it. But that's all I can say, really. I generally struggle to trust public figures based on my experience in the journalism and the life experience. I have seen just way too many times, right, when public figures one day say one thing and then some new circumstances emerge, and the very same people somehow suddenly are changing their mind and are saying the opposite and making these U-turns and stuff. So I find it extremely difficult to trust any public figure whatsoever. But yet again, I don't want to say anything negative, by the way, about Joe Kent, because you know, I don't know. I just don't know. But you know better because you are American and he's American, and you pay more attention to the developments there. So I would be careful. Obviously, I would take anyone with doubt and anyone's statements with doubt. I think Joe Kent was a guest depicted on that picture, isn't it? That MTJ published some time ago, with the comment that movement has begun. So clearly there is some movement, by the way, which will become either something like a new Tea Party for Republicans, or maybe they will launch, I don't know, third party. Actually, I have some doubts about third party, by the way, because the entire system is a two-party system, isn't it? But clearly there was a message that movement has begun. There was a MTJ on the picture, Messi, also Joe Cantor, Tucker. There was another two women that I don't know who they are, probably from conservative aisle. And of course, there is a possibility that globalists might use same trick in the US that they do in Europe when they are creating these fake alternatives, right? To keep their grip on the mindset of the people. So I can understand 100% your cautious approach to the matter, but yet again, I personally don't know much about that group, their actual intent, who is behind them, and therefore, if I was U.S. citizen, I wouldn't trust anybody whatsoever. I mean, I already don't trust no public figures, by the way, anyways. So, also another super chatter. The neocons in the US still believe they can win a nuclear war against Russia. That's why they move some of their nukes to UK. They want to catch Putin by surprise. Well, and that's extreme danger, isn't it? There might be the case that some psychopaths among neocons actually believe that they have a first striker opportunity or capability, after which Russia may not be able to retaliate or something like that. Extremely dangerous idea, extremely dangerous thought. If neocons, if influential groups in the US actually are operating along that line of thought process, that they can strike Russia, they can defeat Russia with nukes, and nothing will happen to them, Russia will not retaliate or would not be able to retaliate, then, well, one day these psychopaths might actually try, and that will be beginning of the end of human civilization as we knew it. So hopefully we will never see anything like that taking place. But with Western ruling class, with globalists, with neocons, you can't be careful enough, man, because these are truly psychopaths. I mean, truly psychopaths, right? That unfortunately managed to capture entire collective West and quite a part of the rest of the world too. And also super chat from Wayward, and right now. There was another recommendation, dear friends, from Christopher right now. So let me highlight this another recommendation. So thank you very much, Christopher, for another recommendation. And Christopher is writing horrifying footage. Russian troops destroy dozens of Ukrainian soldiers. This video can be seen on YouTube channel Military Updater. And well, dear friends, recommendation itself says that this is, I guess, close combat footage. It's gonna be, not for extremely sensitive people. But if you are watching the videos from battlefield, if you are paying attention to combat footage, if you can take it, then there is a recommendation from Christopher. And another one right now, Anna dropped a screenshot that there was another recommendation that I will highlight. Thank you, Christopher, for another recommendation right now. And well, this recommendation is about Europe and Russia. Richard Wolff, why Europe needs Russia as an enemy. This video can be seen on YouTube channel called Glenn Disson Clips. Many members of our community, majority I will say, of course, are familiar with the work of Glenn Disson. He has a main channel where full videos are published, and also secondary channel where clips are published from bigger, longer videos. And that's the Glenn Disson Clips channel. And when it comes to Richard Wolff, of course, one of the brightest minds of modern times, I will argue. Some people might have issues with his ideological stance, because this left, right, these topics do divide quite a lot of people in this world. But nevertheless, one of the brightest people out there in the public field. So definitely always interesting to listen what he has to say. Thank you very much, Christopher, for your recommendation. And also let me react to this. I spotted capital Q right now in the chat from Nijit Levan. What do you think about all the Arab nations foreign ministers meeting over Jerusalem? Well, I would not say all the Arab nations. Let's see what nations will be represented. What that meeting gonna be? I don't know much about it right now, and so let's wait and see. Of course, Western ruling class globalists, they will use their leverage over the GCC countries. Let me say this way, to force them to get engaged militarily against Iran, because that will create exactly the grounds on which Western ruling class will manage to create this violence, right? Forever violence on ethnic and sectarian lines, because GCC countries mostly, with the exception of Bahrain, by the way, are majority Sunni, right? And they're ethnically Arab, let's say, while Iran is majority Shiite and ethnically, they are Indo-Europeans, by the way, they are not Arabs. Correct? And well, one of the way how Western ruling class will try to provoke this regional scale war on ethnic and sectarian lines is to force GCC countries to get engaged against Iran directly, openly, right? And if they want to, they can force them to go into Jerusalem and have a meeting and pause there and act like they are serious people or something like that. But in reality, they are. We all know who is in charge there, right? In Arabian Peninsula, London is in charge there, and globalists are in charge there, like since the creation of these GCC monarchies. Literally, since Brits created those monarchies, and they are still charged, right? Yes, Washington has its presence, influence, but globalists are dominating the field, right? And globalists are dominating Washington too, so therefore, And also, I just mentioned a few minutes ago, that Israel plans to mobilize 250,000 reservists in September, right? And to avoid any mishaps, let's say, between GCC countries and Israel, well, of course, globalists will try, right, to make sure that they all understand what's going on, right? And if Israel actually will send its troops, tens of thousands of its troops, to invade Iran through Iraqi Kurdistan, well, GCC countries should not. GCC countries will be forced to keep their mouth shut, right, and do nothing about it. And that's what many of them gonna do, actually, right? Yet again, of course, I'm not 100% convinced that Israel is mobilizing these 250,000 in September or by September exactly because they want to invade, participate in invasion of Iran. But well, might be the case, isn't it? And when it comes to any summit in Jerusalem, yet again, I don't know much about it. I don't know which foreign minister is gonna go in Jerusalem. Under the water pretext, is it something of this so-called Trump's peace? What is the name of that organization that Trump created recently? I don't know. So we will see. We will see. We will see in this. Plus, of course, has a board of peace. Yes, you are correct. Board of peace. I forgot about it. So yes, probably it is under their umbrella of board of peace or something like that. They're gonna talk what about Abraham Accords again and that kind of stuff. I don't know. I don't have strong opinion about it yet, Nidish, and I'm a bit tired, to be honest, right now. As I said, man, there was one commentary that I read about some possible meeting in Jerusalem. Now you are sharing information. I need some more information to form my opinion on the matter. But either way, it's a manipulation of their globalists, right? Western ruling class, plus their Zionist allies. And GCC countries were never independent to begin with, so therefore, local authorities will do whatever they've been told to do by their masters. And we were there. Thank you very much again, once again, for your super chat on Rumble, for your super chats on Rumble, and supporter of my work in this project, and donations through super chats. And Wayward is commenting, the U.S. is in the corruption. U.S. is second to none. Ancient Rome could only dream of the levels of our corruption, and well, this is the topic, Wayward, that probably barely anybody will even try to argue with you. I personally struggle to understand how this can be. I mean, what you have in US, when it is absolutely legal to bribe lawmakers on all levels, right? On local level, somewhere in a level of, I don't know, city administration or something, or on the state level, and on a country level. I really struggle to understand how people are okay with this. It's a corruption, isn't it? I mean, you can call it a lobbyism or whatever you want, but it's a corruption, isn't it? It's a pure corruption when certain groups of interests are paying for certain people first to be elected, if that can be called elections, right? When money decides, first to be elected, and then to adopt certain laws that are in interest of these special groups of interests. This is a pure definition of corruption, what is going on in the US and what is legalized. And I honestly struggle to understand the mindset, right, of US citizens that are in support of this and don't see anything wrong with that. I mean, how they mindset works, man. Mindset of all those people that see no wrong in this totally insane system that they have. There is topics that I truly struggle to wrap my mind around it. I just don't understand how how mind works for those people, man, and why they did not protest, why they did not challenge this system, right, to be removed. It's crazy, you know. But it's reality, as I said. Barely anybody will even dare to argue with you on this topic because, uh, I mean, if in some countries there is at least um, theater is being played around fighting around with corruption. In some countries, we might have an actual fight against corruption, but in US, oh, there is not even theater in the place because corruption is legalized. So if you want to, you can find, if you have enough money. By the way, you can choose your president. Actually, right? what we are talking about? If you have enough money, you can corrupt anybody. You can pave your way towards even presidents. No, president, I don't think so, because American ruling class will only allow in the White House someone that they can strictly control and manipulate. But on the level of city districts or on the level of state, maybe on the level of Congress too, you can corrupt anyone you want. You can bribe anyone you want, and it will be legal, which is insane, totally insane. But anyways, dear friends, this is it for now. Thank you very much, Wayward. Many thanks to Scooby. Many thanks to Christopher for your donations and support. So thank you, Viper, for your premium subscription gift card. Many thanks to everybody, of course, who ever supported and continues to support my work and keeps me in this field of news and political commentary and this tiny compared to big ones independent media project of mine live. Thank you all, and many thanks, dear friends, to everybody, all of our community, of course, for attention. Have a wonderful day, dear friends, and see you tomorrow. Bye for now.